Hey gang, so here we are. CIG has released the latest numbers, which again are not actually the numbers. So at this point, we're almost a quarter of the way through the year and we don't have an update to the deliverables. So are they going to release it at all, or are they just going to kind of say, after further thought, we're not going to do this kind of view of the roadmap anymore? I think that might be the way they're going, but anyway, let's get into what they gave us. Okay, I wanted to start out sort of dumping the usual caveats for this one. The Overdrive initiative is going on right now. You can actually get access to get a CCU from the new F7 to the F7A. You can get the F7, was it the F7 Mark II C to the F7A Mark II. I screw up the order on that, but you know what I'm talking about. A lot of people are kind of pissed about that. They say you shouldn't have an event where you're doing this thing. You can do the event without having access to the F7. It's just kind of, that's an additive to go through all of the steps. So if you play through every single step and you're successful on every single step, you'll be able to get access to the F7A Mark II. People are pissed about that, but gang, it's a business. Like, their job is to make money. I know that they're crowd-funded to a large degree, but they're not going to be able to sell game packages forever. So, I mean, this is the ticket to the next one. So that's it. Let's go ahead and get into the numbers. So far, it is a fun event. The first round, and I think the second round, maybe the third round, are you go into bunkers and you download information into servers, and the servers are overheating. And out in the bunker are all these different screens, and you have to rump the screens, get the code, go to the server, punch them in, and it cools down that server so it can continue the download. Almost impossible to do with one person. I wouldn't say it is impossible. I'm sure there's some tryhard out there that's does it by himself all the time and doesn't need friends. For most people, way easier with, I'd say, 3 to 5 people. 5 people, it's easy pretty much. Unless you have a teammate like I do, like Hermes, that kills one of your team members with friendly fire. He gets a little bloodlust going sometimes. But anyway, other than that, just go in there. You can kind of clear the bunker with a few guys, with like 2 guys, while one person is running around looking at the screens and one person is sitting at the server. Kind of fun. So far it's a pretty fun event. I believe the next one is kind of a variation on that, but again, it's a bunker. And then the one after that, you're hunting for like the leader. I don't remember what the later ones are. I won't really spoil them. I know you go into space fights eventually, which should be kind of cool. Yeah, as far as events go, that first one was pretty entertaining. Again, I don't think they needed to have 6 of them. Maybe 3 would have been better. Just, it got a little repetitive. I think it's like 5 out of 5. Yeah, that's what it was. I completed it on Saturday. I just kind of blew through them all. So, yeah, I think it was 5 out of 5. It got a little repetitive at the end, but we kind of got it down, and now me and the boys are kind of logging in and sort of saying, hey, is anyone needing help getting to 5-5? From what I understand, there's a couple people kind of role-playing the counter missions and kind of killing people that are going to those bunkers, but not as many. But anyway, let's get into roadmap. So let's, again, they aren't doing the deliverables, which I'll get into at the end of this because they mention it down at the end. So I won't do my usual caveats. So let's get into it. Here's the roadmap roundup. Notable changes for March 20th, 2024. Release view. Unique item recovery. After careful review, our team has concluded that this feature would benefit from additional development time. Therefore, we're updating its card on release view accordingly. We expect this feature to return to the roadmap very soon. In the meantime, item banks remain on track for Alpha 3.2.3 and will remain in place. So I think they're going to do it like 3.2.3.1 or something like that. Basically what this was is that if you had any sub items or anything that you had paid real money for and you got killed and you lost it, or if there's a bug or something like that and you lost it, you wouldn't be able to get that back until the next reset, which is typically the next big number patch. Sometimes they would do it on the sub patches. So like 3.22.1, you'd get a little reset, especially if there's a lot of bugs. But there was a couple things that I lost. I think they did with 3.22.2 or whatever it was, but yeah, it kind of sucks because you go out early in a patch and you're kind of like, oh yeah, I forgot I had that thing. Like I had this one knife called the Sizzy knife or something like that. It's this really cool kind of S shape that came out for, I think it was one of the advent calendar things from a couple years back, but it's a really cool knife. And I was doing a bunker and I think I glitched through the elevator and fell out of the world and lost everything I was carrying. And the only thing I had on me that was actually unique was that knife, which I think looks cool. And now I'm not going to get it until 3.2.3. Unique item recovery would allow you to get that back. You go to that bank, you'd say, hey, I want this. I assume there'd be some countdown timer depending on what it is, and then you get it back. I would imagine what they're trying to do, the reason that it would benefit from additional development time is they're trying to figure out how to balance people paid real money for this with there should be real consequences to dying, which is kind of the core goal of Star Citizen, how it's different from other games like this. But with that said, needs more time in the oven. There you go. The following features have passed their final review. This is cool. Therefore, we are changing their status to committed on release view for Alpha 3.2.3 update. New character customizer. Implementing an overhaul of the player character creator for Star Citizen, including a new user interface and additional customization options. So go look at Inside Star Citizen last Thursday's show. And then Friday, they'll be having the team on to do a Q&A on all of those things. And the thing is, the link to all the questions are up on Spectrum, which is surprisingly being less toxic about it. Some of the questions are good. The number one question I think is a little bit weird. The big one for anyone that's watched this channel for a little while is I've always thought that they should be able to vary the height of the character a little bit. So not hobbits and giants, but like, say, 5'7" to 6'4", somewhere in there would be good enough. Right now, they keep saying that we can't do that because of the metrics. I'm pretty sure they'll say that tomorrow, but that's probably not entirely accurate. With an IK system, you can have various heights, and there's already a variation in character heights between the female model and the male model. They're already different heights. And once you start introducing the aliens, it's going to be even more pronounced because the Banu are taller than regular humans. So I believe they crack up to like 7 feet tall. Jan are shorter. I want to say Tavaran are around the same size. But right there, you're going to have Jan, which are going to be shorter. They're basically dwarves. And then you've got Banu, which are, call them dark sun elves. So they're like 7 feet tall and thin. So they're already going to have to do it. I think they're just not doing it right now. And I had this talk earlier when I was comparing Star Citizen character design with character design in Cyberpunk. And I was saying that even variations in body shape, like very limited variations in body shape, can really break up the monotony and kind of or bring the game back from the uncanny valley, because right now everybody is built like an Olympic tri-sport athlete, and that's just not realistic. Case in point. With that said, reputation, hostility. This is a cool one. Updating the reputation system so that players can affect their long-term standing with in-game organizations via means outside of missions, such as reduction of reputation for killing a member of that faction. AI belonging to certain factions will react differently based on their reputation with you. Being an ally provides the player benefits, such as more generous friendly fire thresholds. So in other words, if you have a good reputation with Crusader security and you're flying around and you accidentally shoot someone from Crusader security, they might not immediately tag you with a CS3 and try to annihilate you. Anyway, more generous, friendly fire thresholds and providing medical aid. That one's interesting. I don't think NPCs will be providing medical aid yet. Being an enemy will mean harsher friendly fire thresholds and may result in attack on sight. Lawful organizations will not attack on sight as long as they're in monitored zone, whereas unlawful factions will attack on sight no matter what. This is the foundation which allows players to become allies with in-world criminal factions and enables places like Grim Hex to enforce their own law. So don't be surprised if in 323 Grim Hex has a few Ninetales patrolling it. And if you're one of those lawful players that likes to run bunkers on Yela and you regularly park at Grim Hex, I won't mention any names, but it's this guy, probably won't be able to do that anymore because Grim Hex will shoot at you. Ninetales will shoot at you. I'm not sure if they'll actually shoot at you inside Grim Hex, but they might. Dynamic crosshair. Combat helmets now support the dynamic crosshair, which allows for quicker target acquisition in close quarter situations. That one's basically, I think right now it'll be applied to all helmets, but eventually it'll be narrowed down to specific combat helmets. We'll have this little crosshair basically in the middle of your screen, but it's dynamic. So as your gun is like reloading and stuff like that, the crosshair will go up and stuff like that and move around. So yeah, it's, I don't know. I'll have to try it out. I use the laser a lot anyway, just to shoot from the hip. So I'm already kind of doing that. So the dynamic crosshair probably won't change my game a whole lot, but we'll see. The following card has been added to the release view. Anvil Hornet F7C Mark II. See, I got the order right when I was reading it. Building, balancing, and implementing Anvil's premier fighter, the Hornet FC Mark II, into the game. And from everything I've heard, yeah, of course I got one. It flies pretty well, has a good balance of weapons. Avenger 1 seems to like it, and he's one of the experts in this community. So there you go. Yeah. There we go. Into the game. That's all for this week. No progress tracker updates this week as work continues on long-term planning. For further insights into the planning efforts of our production team, we invite you to review the latest letter from the chairman, which we have done on this channel. Join the discussion on Spectrum if you can avoid the gatekeepers, which are members of the community, not the mods. 323. So here we go. New character customizer. It's in committed. That's huge. Distribution centers are still tentative since they're just doing the ground level and above. They're not doing the actual down below bits. I think that this one will probably clear. I mean, they're talking, I think Invictus was one of the rumored launch dates for this. So mid-May. They've got like a month and a half to get there, maybe 2 months, depending on when they drop it. I would think distribution centers would be pretty good to go, depending on what other stuff they need to do, but I think we're good. New missions, cargo hauling. We haven't heard about this one. I think they have already rolled it back a little bit with the, well, I'll get to that when I get down there. Cargo hauling, you wouldn't think this would be too hard, but it's got to come with the whole rework to the economy itself, I would think, or it's not going to make sense. That said, if they're just testing the loop, they might be, even if you're running kitty litter, it's worth $1 million just to get people to test it. Even if you were to sell kitty litter like 1 SEU, it would be a penny or something. So they'll fake the amount that it's worth. Item banks, so allowing players to retrieve and store FPS items at multiple locations. So that's the one that's on pause right now. Shouldn't be too bad. Yeah, 323.1. This isn't something that I have to have. It's not one of those killer features that I'm looking forward to. Miner's Lament, we talked about that. Engineering, my Doberman is being dramatic and squeaking at me. Engineering experimental mode is huge. Get in there and test that. If you are a non-pilot and you've been looking forward to being one of those people that does something outside of like combat and that, and you're really looking for that engineering multi-role gameplay, test that. Go in there and test that as hard as the dogfighters are testing master modes right now, because engineering is going to be the thing that makes this game different. Grav Royale, basically just a race mode for grav bikes. Kind of cool. Not really my bag, but who knows? I'll probably try it out. Arena Commander custom lobbies. You can basically just make your own lobbies, and there you go. You can customize them. Personal and instanced hangers. This one's another pretty big one, long promised. They did roll it back a little bit, so your hanger, what you put in it will be permanent, but you're not going to be able to store vehicles or call up vehicles there. You'll be able to call up ships, but not like ground vehicles. Mobiglass rework, massive. FPS loot screen, massive. FPS map system, and the, where is it? Star map, those are huge. Dynamic event blockade rare, we haven't heard about that one yet. Visor lens, HUDs rework, all of these things, EVA tier 2. I said in an Evo chat earlier today that if the only thing that came in 323 was EVA tier 2, I'd be happy, which is true. All this other stuff is just amazing though. Reputation, hostility, freight elevators, big deal. There we go. Master modes. Again, weapons, that's dynamic crosshair and core tech. Volumetric clouds update. Underrated, but one of the things that drew so many people into this game is the visuals, which are pretty, I'm having a hard time thinking of games that are visually as stunning as Star Citizen is. Pretty much anytime I go and play another game, I'm all like, that kind of looks cartoony, because I'm used to having an actual sun lighting an actual sphere that's a planet. Image upscaling is important for using the GPUs. That sort of stuff. Replication layer update is, again, huge. 323 is going to be a milestone patch. And it'll be one of those things that'll just kind of be a sea change, that when it hits, we're going to wonder, it's going to be like when Planet Tech came in, and we were wondering, people that come in after that moment will have no basis of comparison to what it was before. So if you're in now, sort of mark these days, because then you can kind of do the equivalent of what us real old timers can do and be like, I remember Cry Astro and riding my PTV around the hangars because that was the game. But anyway, that's all I got for this one, gang. Like I said, short one. If and when they roll out the progress tracker, this little guy, when we start seeing those numbers stretch out, then I'll do a dive into that. If they end up not doing that, we'll start figuring out other things. I'll probably go over Evocati patch notes or something like that now that we actually can talk about those. One last note on Evocati is that I did notice somebody dropped a leaked image of the new loot screen. If I remember right, it was something that the wording looked bad, and on Reddit people were just screaming at it like, oh god, how come CIG doesn't know how to make these things right? Why does it look so terrible and all of that? The thing is that that image came from a bug report, and that is exactly why CIG has said Evocati can talk about what they're doing, but we don't want them releasing images or videos from Evocati, because most of the features are kind of in a broken state where they're trying to track down those bugs. So most of the pictures are us Evocati people taking screenshots saying, hey, this thing doesn't look right. So the whole point of the image is that it doesn't look right. And you're saying it's not lining up right on this screen. I'm using this and this and this. And then the devs will go in and kind of, or QA or whoever will go in there, look at it and be like, oh, okay, that's what it's doing for this particular case. But it kind of puts CIG behind the 8 ball, because these images get leaked as the final product, and that's not what they are. So I would say on any of the Evocati patches, or on any of those leaks, on any of those images, on any of the videos, take a deep breath and realize that it's going through the process. Now, if it looks like that in the PTU and stuff like that, and late in the PTU, start panicking. That's when you can start raising those stinks. But in Evocati, no, that's what Evocati is for. Other than that, gang, I got nothing. So, yeah, let me know about things you want to hear about or chat about down below. Always love hearing from you. Catch you next time.